Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Blair Embry. I'm the communications manager for Prison Yoga Project, and we are so excited today to welcome our very special guests, Terry and Mike. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely. Terry Cortés-Vega began her journey in mindfulness in 1998 with Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. In 2012, Terry was ordained as a Dharma teacher. For more than 25 years, Terry has led a weekly meditation, mindfulness, and yoga class in various jails and prisons in and around Austin. Since the 90s, Terry has organized a group of practitioners to sit in meditation outside of City Hall in Austin during every execution on death row. Terry is also the resident Dharma teacher at Plum Sangha in Austin. Thank you so much for being here, Terry.
Thank you for inviting me.
And our other special guest is Mike Stanfield. Terry met Mike while he was incarcerated in Texas. Mike was awaiting trial for 1 year in jail. After being a resident for a month, you can sign up for programs. Mike signed up for meditation, the works of Byron Katie. He signed up to be a GED teacher, and he also signed up for yoga. His instructor was Terry. Her classes were a heavy dose of meditation, mindfulness, and yoga. Safe to say that these teachings made an impact. Mike spent 3 years incarcerated and upon release settled back into San Antonio to start his own branch of the Plum Sangha. For the past 11 years, Mike has been holding space for anyone in his community to come and learn about the Dharma and practice mindfulness and meditation. It is my great honor to be hosting this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And how we like to get started is by a centering opportunity. Terry, will you lead us in this?
I'm happy to. So I'd like to invite 3 sounds of the bell. The bell invites us to go back to our true home, to that sweet spot inside. So we'll listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Then I'll just offer a short settling meditation, and then 2 sounds of the bell to end. I invite you to find your most comfortable, your favorite meditation position where you're alert but feel cozy, like you're at home. You may need to move a little left or right or adjust your head a little bit. And if you like, lightly close your eyes. Breathing in, I am aware I'm taking an in-breath. Breathing out, I'm aware I'm taking an out-breath. Might follow your in-breath from the beginning, the end, and then that little pause before you start your out-breath. You pause before you start your in-breath. Enjoy your breathing. As you breathe in, you may notice your body relaxes. Face is relaxed, your shoulders, arms and hands. Your chest and upper back relaxed. And you receive your next breath in a soft belly. Your lower back relaxed and at rest. Your legs are relaxed from the inside out, so all the muscles around your femur are relaxed. Shins and calves. Feet, your toes. I invite you to notice the space you're in. Where do you feel cool? Where do you feel warm? You might notice the sounds in your space without naming or labeling them. Just receive the sounds. If you like, imagine yourself on your ceiling or on the sky, cloud, and look down and notice where you are in space. Who else is around? What else is around? I invite you to appreciate yourself for something sweet you've done today, something good you've done for yourself or someone else. Smiled or you showed up here. And then offer gratitude to someone. Just bring your attention back to your in-breath and out-breath. To this miracle of being able to breathe in and breathe out.
Thank you so much, Terry. I really loved the invitation to enjoy your breath. I haven't heard that one yet. Yeah. Terry, we can start with you with a question that we ask often. What's your first memory of meditation?
I wasn't a meditator. I'd kind of sworn off of spiritual life altogether. But my best friend, Scotty, said, "You need to meditate." So I said, I love her, so I want to, I know she loves me, so I decided to try it. And so actually, I didn't have a bell, so I got a pan lid and a stick from the yard, and I invited the pan lid and my dog, and I meditated. And I reported to Scotty later, I hate this meditation stuff. I was perfectly happy stuff in me. And Scotty said, just keep trying, just keep trying. So I would say it was a pretty rocky start. I wouldn't have finished it if it hadn't been for her. Yeah. Now, meditation is like eating avocados. It's just so nourishing and delicious that I can't imagine a day where I don't sit still, get quiet, stop thinking.
How long do you think that you were kind of like digging at it before it?
Oh, I think it took several months. Scotty just kept saying, keep at it, keep at it. And then one time she said, there's this little Vietnamese Buddhist monk in California having a retreat. Let's go. And so I said, okay, why not a trip with my girlfriend, right? So it was Thich Nhat, and we had a 5-day retreat there. And that was where I totally turned around. Just, it really helps. It still helps to meditate with others. The energy, it's one of the reasons I love going to the prison. The energy of everyone sitting and being still we feed each other. And so I guess it was a couple of months, but then after sitting with Guy and the monastics and the 900 other of my best friends, and I fell in love with meditation.
I agree. I think there's something really beautiful and potent to the silence of hundreds of people sitting and practicing together.
Yeah. Blair, that's true. But even just sitting with my Sangha, which may be maybe 20 people, or sometimes at the jail, just 4 or 5 guys, just other people with the same intention, the same quieting affects us. I'm not sure, actually, we can really meditate if we don't occasionally get that fix.
It's the thread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the thread.
Mike, what's your first memory of meditation?
Well, that's easy for me. It wasn't as long ago, probably, as Terry's, but actually mine is from jail. As you mentioned, I signed up for a meditation program, and there was an instructor there, and Terry knows him too, Dave Stevens, who's passed on, but he was a phenomenal meditation teacher, and I had studied Buddhism, read quite a few like Alan Watts books and things like that, but it was a real cerebral thing, and didn't really get into the meditation. But there's such absolute utter chaos in a jail setting that I signed up for this class, and we went to a classroom of maybe 5 people or 6 people, but just the sheer quiet and respite from the chaos. I was sold from day one. It was meditation was revolutionary in my life. I didn't argue with it at all. It was great. So that was like in 2008 is probably when that happened.
So just continuing with that piece, Mike, when you were in class, how many times did you get to practice a week?
That was once a week.
Yeah.
It was once a week thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We took it back. What was really instructive for me, that I chuckle at people at retreats and things like that say, that clock is bothering me, or I heard a noise outside. Dave was real adamant about us taking it back to the dorm and doing it daily. So I learned to meditate in absolute chaos and noise. So now a clock ticking or a dog barking, it doesn't faze me at all. It's just his famous saying was, just let the noise be the noise. Just let it be the noise and don't engage with it. And so it's really informed my meditating ever since,
I can hear how it just makes the depth of your meditation unshakable. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sure.
Terry, yes, please.
Maybe I could say something. I think that that's Mike did an excellent job of making the noise, but that is a concern when we teach guys in prison, and I've only taught men. When we teach guys in prison or in jail, they say, where can I meditate? Because it has to be done every day. And they get real creative. Like breakfast is at 4:30 in the morning, and then most people go back to bed. So a lot of guys find that time after breakfast, so 5 a.m. or 4:46 a.m. They find that time, or they go in the rec outside to the rec concrete and find a place. Yeah.
Mm. Just taking any opportunity for spaciousness.
Creative about it. Yeah. Mike, right, Mike, you just kind of tuned it out. It doesn't enter you.
And there you go. Great.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love when it's quiet. I love sitting with the Sangha or sitting in retreat and really enjoying soaking up the silence. But it did help me to develop a way of just tuning out, I guess, compartmentalizing the noise and just having it be. I liken it to thoughts. When we meditate, thoughts come, and we're taught, we learn to not grasp them, to just let them float by. And I just sort of lump that in with the sounds. I just let the chaos just float by. I just don't attach myself to it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously nicer when it's quiet. And there were those times, like you said, Terry, in the actual prison system, breakfast is at 3. So 4 o'clock was a really good time. It's a quiet time, but after that, it's just, just ramps up again. So, but yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
Perry, what was the motivation, or how did you get involved in teaching in correctional facilities?
Well, in Texas, we're number one in executions. And so our Sangha, we had a group of us who every time the state executed someone, we sat on the Capitol steps. And we sat and meditated from 5:30 to 6:30, because we execute at 6:00. And we just sit and meditate. But there were Christian people there as well with big signs saying, "Stop execution," or "We're executing someone right now." So I was sitting in meditation on the Capitol steps, which is right on a main road, right in front of the Capitol, and we meditate for the person being executed, being murdered. We also meditate for the victim, the victim's family, the friends of the victim, the family and friends of the person being executed, as well as the staff that has to tie their arms down and their feet down and insert the needle. So we just include everyone who's suffering because of this. And one time when I was sitting, I just thought, I don't come to you until the last minutes of your life. I want to get to you. I want to see if I can be of any other help a little earlier in this process. So I just went to the local jail and knocked on their door and said, "Can I offer yoga?" At the time, no one was asking for Buddhist teachings, just yoga, but I knew that I could include meditation in the yoga. So that was, 25 or more years ago.
Thank you. What barriers were you met with? I know that you started this work 25 years ago. The tides have changed a little bit. But yeah, will you tell us maybe about the struggles and the barriers about offering these kind of rehabilitative programmings inside?
Right. There was no barrier to offering yoga. I offered yoga, but I included meditation in that. And sometimes, although my practice is a Buddhist practice, I didn't emphasize that, but sometimes Buddhism is attached to yoga and meditation, and it came up. And one time some guy said to me, "Oh, we want to find out more about Buddhism." And I said, "Oh, great. I'll go to the chapel and ask the chaplain," because I was offering yoga in a separate part of the jail with programs. So I went to the chaplain and I said, I'm a Dharma teacher. I would like to teach about Buddhism." He said, "No way." So I said, "Well, why not?" And he said, "Well, if a woman comes here to the jail and she wants a Buddhist teacher, I'll call you." So I went back to my yoga class and I said to the guys, "Well, we're not going to be able to do it." And they said, "Oh, we really want to." And I said, "Well, why don't you just put in a request for a Buddhist meeting?" So the guys did. They sent in their request and they got a note back that with the Christian Bible that said, "Find the true Lord." And the chaplains in the Bible. So they showed me that sheet of paper, and I showed it to the sheriff, and the sheriff said, "Oh, I think I can do something about that." So it wasn't long after that I was told I could have a Buddhist class, but although I'd been teaching men for 15 years, I couldn't do it without a man. So I said, well, there'll be 20 men there. That's not the problem. But he didn't think that was a very funny joke. So I was telling Jeff about it. Jeff, are you there? I can't see you. Is Jeff there?
I don't think he's here yet, but we'll make sure that he's part of the recording. So Jeff was I'll interject real quick because then I want you to
Okay, good. Yeah.
Jeff was the first person that I interviewed for this webinar series. And Jeff is a longtime PYP facilitator, and now I think is maybe titles like UK program director. So this is how Jeff got involved. So yeah, continue, tell us.
So Jeff was teaching yoga as well at the jail. So I said, "Oh, I got to find me a man." And he said, "I'll be your man." And so it was so wonderful. So Jeff and I co-led this Buddhist class. And when he went to the UK, he deserted us and he left. Well, I was able to find another man in my Sangha. And now that chaplain has moved on. He's doing something else. And the new chaplain, I can meet without my man. So it's just me and my other guys that show up. Yeah.
And I think this is heard often from challenges from the outside coming in. And then Mike, I want to hear some challenges or resistance. Did you meet any challenges of being able to request or receive this kind of programming inside?
The truth is that story, that bit of the story where Terry started offering Buddhist services, that was after I'd already left. In the prison system, it was not available. It wasn't available, and it meant the same sort of resistance she's talking about, the chaplains. And so for the most part, Buddhism is practiced, well, I say it's been 10 years more since I was there, but we maybe got like a couple of guys together as an adjunct to the Christian. They had what they called God pods, which are spiritual based dormitories. But you could meditate. You could never use the word Buddhism, but you could talk amongst yourselves about it. And I read Dave and Terry and some other people on the outside were really generous in making sure that there were plenty of Thich Nhat Hanh books and Pema Chodron books and Jack Kornfield. There's a lot of resources out there, but no, they're organized. It was not available to me, the Buddhist. And when I took the meditation class in jail, Dave was a meditation instructor, but he was very eclectic. He brought in Jewish meditators, rabbis that wrote books on meditation. He brought in Thich Nhat Hanh books, but Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he was all over the board. So they let him slide under the radar because he wasn't teaching Buddhism. It's a very funny prejudice, but it's not unheard of in Texas in general. The reverse is very. There's a couple of books by Thich Nhat Hanh about Christianity and Christ and Jesus and Buddha as brothers. So it's definitely a one-way prejudice, but it is what it is, So there were no prison-sponsored programs that I could be involved with that had the word Buddhism attached to them.
So all of these challenges and barriers and blocks, which also frankly shouldn't exist. I think that there are rights to people that are incarcerated to receive religious programming. So that's the biggest thing we're seeing here. But tell us about your relationship and how you guys met.
Well, as I said, I also put in for yoga, and I attended Terry's yoga class. From my perspective, she slipped in a little bit more Buddhism than she's leading on. Maybe she's not supposed to say that, but there was plenty of meditation, Buddhism flavored stuff at the end of the yoga part, and it was very appreciated. No one was upset by that I knew of, but I don't know. I don't want to speak to Terry, but I feel like she sometimes feels like a little frustration in that she doesn't seem to be getting like guys are specifically signing up to get out of the dorm just because it's quiet, but then once they're released, they don't really show an interest in it anymore. I don't know how much, but for me, she watered a lot of seeds in a lot of men over the years, and I think those seeds are blossoming all over the world, and she just doesn't see it because they go off and they do their thing and they live their life. But she was so sweet and so generous and so much. For me, the important thing was she treated us just like people that you would meet anywhere. We weren't inmates when we were in her class. And so I just loved her from the beginning, and we hit it off. But she was incredibly generous over my incarceration with correspondence, writing letters, just kept in touch. And I think that's available. I don't know. That would be for her to answer, but I think she would do that for anyone that would show an interest. I just happened to show an interest. So, but when I got out, it was the same thing. She invited me to Austin to her Sangha. She was very welcoming, open arms, and helped me start a Sangha in San Antonio. And, she's one of my dearest friends now.
Harry, will you talk to us about how it felt to have Mike as a student or a participant in the programs, and that the evolution of the relationship?
Yeah. Well, Mike tells us the sweet part. But right off the bat, he was committed. It's like, I don't know, like just sparked in him. Mike, you remember that you guys would often make roses out of toilet paper and somehow dye them with Jell-O or something. And so they bring me roses, so precious. Well, Mike illustrated waking up this morning, I smiled 24 brand new hours. Do you remember that, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
He had this beautiful illustration of this little short meditation that we did. So that's just an example of how he came in on fire. And that, of course, influenced everyone else. And when he got out, and now Mike and our friends, he comes here and he took meal with us, and he stays in our cabin, but when he got out, he was still on fire. They hadn't doused out that fire in the prisons, but it was because of his energy. He and I wrote constantly. I kept all of your letters. Did you keep my letter? Oh, I bet you couldn't keep them.
No, I could send them home in an envelope, so I have them all.
Oh, and I have all his. Oh, that's such sweet. And what he would do is talk about how he was practicing. And so therefore he was teaching, whether they had formal classes or not. Mike was teaching compassion, kindness, equanimity, joy. He was taking care of people in that way by the way that he lived there in that space. And then when he got out and he said, he was in San Antonio, which is 100 miles away, sort of, a little less than that. He said, I want a Sangha here. And so he started a Sangha. He got together three other women. He got those three women together and he started a Sangha. And now he is, in our Sanghas, we don't have a leader, but if we did, it would be Mike is the leader of his Sangha. He's the foundation, the solidity. He's the one that makes sure there's harmony in the Sangha. And it's grown now. They have 20 or more people, which in a Buddhist Sangha, that's a big Sangha. So he continues to teach me. Of course, those letters were totally Dharma talks for me. How under these circumstances, for example, in Texas prisons, there's no air conditioning, and it's 100 or 110 outside, and only inmates, I think this is right, Mike, who can buy a fan from the system can have a fan. So there's been people die because of the heat. So he got heat rash all over, but he saw that as a way to practice. He used, you can think using chaos to deepen your meditation. He used heat rash to deepen his practice. It's just, he took whatever came along. There's a big riot one time, and they put everybody on white bread and bologna sandwiches, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for more than a week, right, Mike?
It was about 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks of bologna, and he used white bread and bologna for 6 weeks as a practice. So you can see how he teaches, he who he is a teacher. Yeah.
I love this deep, heartfelt share from both of you. And Mike, I want to hear more about you as a facilitator. You've been out more than 11 years, and since then you have been facilitating and being a community leader. Will you tell us about the experience of facilitating?
Sure. Normally in the Plum Village tradition, the members, the full ordained members of the Order of Inner Being facilitate the Dharma sharings and Sangha. But being a brand new Sangha, we had 4 of us that started it, but none of us were ordained. So we just sort of were thrown into the deep end. But I have to say that it's not, for me, I was ordained in 2017, and I've learned a lot along the way. But for me, it is the greatest joy to share, to facilitate the discussion. And it's never, for some people, I know that it's a little bit of a stage fright kind of thing. It's like, I don't really want to facilitate a group of 20 people. And what if I say something wrong and all that? But for me, it's always been my greatest joy as part of the practice is to just share my personal experiences with the practice and how much joy it brings me. And I love it. I love it. But we have grown. The part of the story Terry didn't tell is after we started, it got down to just two of us. And we met in the other woman's house. We met every once a week. And it was just the two of us for almost a full year. And we kept thinking, is this the Sangha? Is this what it's going to be? And then we just reached a tipping point. We had a visitor, and then we had two visitors, and then we had five. And now, as Terry said, we regularly have 20, 25 people, and we're getting new people all the time. And we just had a retreat. Terry's Sangha just put on a retreat, and we had 3 or 4 members take the 5 mindfulness trainings, which is a ceremony in our practice. And it's really reached a self-sustaining kind of thing. I feel like now if I could die or move and the Sangha would be fine. I mean, it's an organism into itself, but it was touch and go for a little while. We had our doubts, but we always had our big sister in Austin to talk us down off the ledge. So but yeah, it's been wonderful. It's a really big part of my life. And we do a book club once a week on Zoom, and we have a Sunday morning walk that we do. And so yeah, 3 or 4 days a week I'm doing something with Sangha, and it's awesome.
Actually, 7 days a week because of meditation. Also, he met his so this beautiful woman came to Sangha, and they fell in love, and I married him. So I'm happy to say I married Mike.
It's too much. It's so beautiful. Mike, what do you think was there a turning point or like a specific moment for you that you wanted to dedicate your life to the Dharma?
There was a specific happening in. It was funny because, like I said, Dave had brought different books, and I really hadn't attached myself to any teacher or anything like that. But I had an experience in an early morning incident in our dorm where a man who, as an aside, there's a lot of mental illness in the prison system. So there's a lot of things going on. But one gentleman was having a particularly rough morning, let's put it that way, and he just went off and was screaming. And we were in line, and there was something that happened that particular time where I turned around and I looked him in the eyes, and I thought, I not only understand what he's feeling right now, but where there's no separation between us. There was the inner being. It's like I totally was not frustrated or angry or scared. I just thought there is no separation between the two of us, and I just felt complete compassion for him. And I told Terry that story. She probably doesn't remember it, but she was still just my yoga teacher, quote unquote. So I told her that story, and she goes, I have a book you should read. And she gave me a Thich Nhat book. And I read his book. And I don't know if you've ever read any Thich Nhat books, but he is an incredibly articulate and sweet human being. And I read that book, and I'm like, well, that's it. This is me. This is what I've been looking for my whole life. So that was probably the turning point for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. It's really beautiful. Terry, do you think that the moment for you that shifted, was it the retreat where you were in community?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, when and like I say, I had consciously given up. I was raised a Methodist, and Anyway, along the line there, I gave all of that up, and I was anti-religion. But I went with my friend. We're sitting on the floor, 900 of us, and Thich Nhat Hanh slips off his outdoor shoes, slips on his indoor shoes, and walks in, and I fell apart. It was like, thank you, Jesus. I don't know. It was yeah, I guess that's where, where I fell in love.
I love your relationship, your friendship, your spiritual companionship, Terry and Mike. And I think it just speaks to the importance of programming like this, outside and inside. And maybe we can start with Mike. What would you share of the impact of, meditation, Buddhist programming, yoga? What would you say about the impact of programming like this?
I think, well, I mean, obviously, I think there's not nearly enough of it, but most of the men I met along the way, and we're talking hundreds, we were in dorms of 65 people. So I met, over the course of 4 years, I met hundreds and hundreds of men. And most of them have never been in any kind of environment where any wholesome seeds were watered. They have always been in violence and addiction, and I think it's crucial that there are programs. And I was the chaplain at one of the prisons. I was the chaplain's assistant. I was in the office. So I saw the attempt, and there were some really wonderful volunteers from, strangely, Pentecostal churches that came in and seemed to have our best interest in their hearts, and they were doing it out of a sense of kindness and compassion. And so, I just think the message of Buddhism, of looking deeply within yourself and realizing that you have all the conditions that you need to be happy, is just a message that doesn't really come from anywhere else. Not very often. And I think the yoga and meditation, some breathing exercises, and just some silent meditation is, if I could have my wish, it would be that there are, that is the main program in every prison. But the honest truth is that's far, far from true. And I think I'm fortunate in that I had an education and a family support system. And so, frankly, it was a lot easier for me to invest the time and effort into pursuing those things while incarcerated. But it is so difficult to be berated as an inmate the way that you are in the system if you don't have a support system and you don't have a Dharma teacher out in the world writing you sweet letters, and you don't have anyone to talk to about meditation. And I mean, for me, it was transformative, and I think it probably is transformative in some ways for everyone who even touches a program like that. But I don't, I mean, from my, and, I realize that Texas is different than other places, maybe not as bad. I've heard Louisiana is probably the worst place to be incarcerated, but Texas is all where else. When Terry said we're number one in executions, it's like it's hard to get excited about being number one in some of the things Texas is number one in, but we are probably way down the list in having programs that help men, bolster their self-esteem and learn ways to embrace their anger and their unwholesome feelings and transform them. And I don't know what the answer is except to just clone Terry about 1,000 times. I can't overemphasize how important these types of. I'm preaching to the choir when I talk to people in the practice, but if you've never been exposed to some of the things that you're exposed to in a mindfulness, meditation, Buddhism class or lifestyle or practice, the word we overuse is it's transformative. It just changes your perspective on everything. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll continue to be able to. I'm inspired today, actually, to go knock on the door at the Bexar County Jail and see if they need somebody to come meditate with those guys. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
So well put, Mike. And that was going to be the next question if I had, was if you were interested in going back in. So I'm so happy that this has served as inspiration. And I think that that's what we're trying to do as well. Like, that's what we try to do with these webinars, trying to inspire people. I know that this work can also feel quite lonely. And obviously also lived experience of being incarcerated is something that I can't express or know. But just knowing that we are here as a community and a Sangha to continue to practice and offer programming like this.
I might add one part of it. Mike is right. I get sad sometimes when I think when guys when they get out, they don't come to Sangha, and I've got 50 guys from my class in Sangha. But I think one of the ways that they benefit is from talking to each other. So I've never been incarcerated either. I'm a little old white woman, grandma, and so middle class, so what do I bring? So a lot of we have an hour and a half every day, once a week, and we spend maybe 30 minutes in doing some yoga and some meditation, but the rest of the time is fellows sharing their own experience. So learning from each other. They are each other's teachers. That's why it's so important that there be that connection, that interaction. I can offer, if someone says, my woman has broken up with me, I can offer some practices that you can try and see how that works for you. And then other guys can say, well, yeah, when my woman broke up with me and like that. So to me, a real benefit of our time together is the time when the fellows share their confusion, their hurt, their suffering.
And Sangha is the part of the three jewels, the three things that we take refuge in.
Right.
So for the three jewels is the Buddha, but that's also so expansive, right?
Right. The Buddha is not Shakyamuni, but is the enlightened teachers, like these trees, like each other, like the guys. Those are the teachers. And then the Dharma is just the teachings. What do trees teach you? What does this friend of yours whose woman left him too? What is that? He's a teacher like that. And the Buddha said, actually, that the Sangha was the most important. And the more I practice, the more I am certain that old Buddha is right about that part. What do you know?
I feel that too. And just this is an invitation to our community. Again, thank you for being present here. You can start to drop your questions in the Q&A box. You'll see it on the Zoom screen, and I'll read those out loud to Mike and Terry. But we'll go with just a couple more questions here, but you can start to pile those questions in. Terry, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in getting involved in prison reform or offering spiritual guidance in correctional facilities?
Well, it's my biggest teacher. It's my weekly shot in the arm of compassion and kindness and diligence and wisdom. So do it for yourself. I don't feel ever like, oh gosh, I've got to go do my service work. It doesn't feel, even just saying that sounds ridiculous. It's a time, it is hopefully both ways, that I'm of help to them and they're of help to me. But the truth is we are there together. I could volunteer in a lot of different places, and I would be more welcome than I am at the jail sometimes, although that's changing. But this would be the last thing I would give up. I'm an old woman, and at some point you say, oh, I'm going to retire. But I can't see an end to this. For me, for my sake. I'm doing it for my sake. It's for me. So to feel like it's a service work, nah.
And Mike, having lived experience of being incarcerated and being a participant of programming, what perspective would you share to someone who is interested in coming in and offering programs?
Well, first, let me just say that I've gone with Terry a few times now, a couple of times into the Travis County Jail for her services. And I just want to echo that I felt like I got a lot more out of it than the guys that were in there. It just is, it's just an amazing feeling to be able to offer any comfort to someone that I know what they're going through. But I think the advice I would give to someone who had no incarceration experience is absolutely devoid your mind of any preconceived notions about what is going on in prison. Even if you've seen the entire Orange is the New Black series, just get out of your head what you think is going on in prison, and just let them share from the heart what's going on for them, because it's an individual experience for everyone that's in there. And to the programs I did participate in, and I did a lot. I taught some programs, and I went to many Christian programs and book readings and all kinds of things. And it's difficult for men that are incarcerated to, I don't want to use the word preach, but to have someone just come in and tell them what they need to do. Here's what you need to do. this will fix your problem, as opposed to tell me what you're feeling, and how can I help you deal with that? So it's mostly just allowing them to just be human beings and not be inmates, not be a number. And one last shot, Terry's a pro at that. No one who's ever been through her program has ever felt like she treated them like an inmate. So I would say just emulate what Terry does and you'd be fine.
Oh, my cheerleader. I love you so.
I think that's a privilege that I feel, although I have moved just last week. I was going into RJD, which is a men's prison down by the border of California and Mexico. And I felt so privileged every time I walked into the prison that I got to come in with joy. And I got to wave and say hi and smile and engage in a joyful way with everyone that I met. And that just felt like also like a privilege to be authentic, to go in as myself. And also, I have never been more welcomed by any community or any spiritual community that I have ever entered. And saying goodbye was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And it was also the warmest goodbye that I had ever received. I have them, they will be on my altar when I set up an altar, but I got origami flowers made by participants. Just the generosity is unmatched. And just it's such a privilege to be able to go and practice with our Sangha inside. It is, like I said, it is unlike any other community that I have been a part of.
I might add too that if you can't get in a prison or in a jail, there's a real joy in having a pen pal, in writing each other. I write. Of course, Mike and I wrote for years, and then I don't know, maybe off and on 50 different guys that we write, and some keep it up and some don't, and they have to buy their envelope and they have to buy their stamps. So there's that as well. But I think that's nourishing both ways as well. Just writing to guys, people who are incarcerated.
I think that's a perfect segue to this first question that we have for the question and answer. Comes from Laura. Looking to the future, what are your thoughts about using technology to bring meditation to incarcerated people? I am the executive director of a nonprofit called Connecting from the Heart, and we offer videos with music, meditation, and mental wellness talks. Our goal is to alleviate suffering and bring hope and healing to underserved populations, including incarcerated people and their families. In your experience, are there closed circuit TVs or personal tablets available to people that are incarcerated? What does the future of technology in this work look like?
Yay, Laura. Can you come to Austin? Yes. Just since COVID, they have to buy them, but there are tablets that are available to guys to buy. This is way since Mike's time. It's just since COVID. And there's education sections, and there are Buddhist sections, and I suppose others. But the guys report to me, they come back. In fact, Jesse would write down, because he can't bring the tablet out. He wrote down some of the whole 4 pages of a talk to bring to our Sangha gathering at the jail. And then we're able to make copies, so we can make copies of those and hand them out. So yay, Laura. It would be such a gift if if you can keep that going. And I think now there's we're talking Texas here, and we're not going to be on the forefront, but the more you can do that, the more eventually it'll get down to us.
I didn't know they had to purchase a tablet.
Yeah. Just like you have to purchase a radio. If you want a radio, or if you want a fan, you purchase the fan. You have to have money.
So just another barrier. Yeah. I put it in the chat, but Laura, let's connect you with Terry.
Yay, thank you.
More questions are still welcome. We've got about 10 more minutes. This next one is a community member just wanting to thank you. All you shared is identical to my experiences serving mindfulness and meditation in New Mexico prisons and through correspondence. So they just wanted to say thank you.
Well, to that person, I recently led a retreat in Albuquerque, and I have a couple of people in Santa Fe who are who I've been working with, or ordained people I've been working with. I'd love to know more about your work in New Mexico as well. Is it in Santa Fe? Is it in Albuquerque? Or can I ask that question?
Yeah, they should be able to respond in the chat as well. And while they respond, they're in Santa Fe. Oh, at Opaya. Amazing.
Sure.
Roshi,
Okay.
Joan Halifax.
Right, Joan Halifax, right. Great.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I see this one note that says that she's moving back to Central Texas in July. I'd love to connect to. No, there's no possibility of any kind of reimbursement or dana of any sort. Although last week was Volunteer Awareness Week at the jail, and so I had a wonderful brownie.
And to speak the question out loud, a participant is saying that they're a recreational therapist and certified yoga teacher. The cost of living in Austin is astronomical. Is all of this volunteer work, or is there possibility of reimbursement? And I'll speak to that a little bit more as well. A piece for Prison Yoga Project that we speak to is that we encourage having paid programming because it makes the work more sustainable. That's not always accessible in every county or state or program or prison. If you'd like to connect further, we have ways that you can fundraise in the community that supports gas stipend. Maybe it supports your time there. Maybe it supports like printing materials or buying books. As a community, we do what we can to find or pave roads for financial support for this work. Again, just coming back to the sustainability effort. We don't want a volunteer coming in for a couple weeks and then leaving. I think that contributes to just abandonment narratives that I think a lot of people that are incarcerated hold, because that is what the system does. It pulls people away from lives. It pulls people away from families. And we don't want to contribute to more of that. And so if you are interested in doing this work, but you do need financial support, maybe there's small grants, maybe there's people in the community. I think there's always a way. That's my thought. There's always a way. But Brittany, let's get you connected with Terry as well. We've got a couple other questions coming in, which is really great. Thank you both so much. It would be great to connect with more teachers doing this work. I'm with a nonprofit, Kula for Karma. I hope I said that right. And we're always looking for more certified teachers to go into correctional facilities in New Jersey. We do supply a stipend. Thank you, Blair, for hosting. amazing. Allison, if you're not already connected with PYP, we can connect you with our program facilitator, Amy. And if you become a PYP program, we are able to support and give you resources. Allison's also agreeing that consistency is so important. Continuity is important. Speaking from a therapeutic perspective, building rapport is essential to find deeper healing. Totally agree.
Well, here's the problem with continuity in a jail. They come and go. It's supposed to be no longer than a year, but there's several guys that have been there 3 years. I think Mike was there almost 2 years. No, 1 year.
Exactly 1 year.
Exactly 1 year. So I see that lack of point of view. Oh, darn, they have to leave. Santos just left and he just found us. He just got connected and now he's moved on. So it's wonderful when they can move out and be free, but often they move on to prison. So we do our part. I totally agree with you. Can see I have practiced doing my part of being there, being available. But
Thank
those
you.
guys come and go.
I think that's speaking to a larger piece, because then it's also who is facilitating or catching people when they're released as well, right? Like Mike, you went and formed your own community, but maybe not everyone has the courage to do so, or maybe they don't have the support to do so. And so I think it's pointing to that it does take all of us. It takes a community to be able to serve in so many places.
Several guys do come and sit with us in our Sangha, and that works two ways. It breaks stereotypes that people have about inmates, and it offers continuous support for the guys that can come. But you have to have a car or in Austin, or you have to be able to pay for all of that. Yeah, for them to be hard.
Yeah, and I think let me collect my thoughts. There's always so much to say. I just think that we continue to do a disservice and we continue to harm people that are incarcerated. We need to continue to shift towards a rehabilitative program. It needs to be rooted in transformative justice and rehabilitation, because although you have served a sentence, you still come out and you have felony charges. I'm sure you can't buy a home. You can't get a job. It makes it impossible, and it continues the recidivism rate. Then what is 70% within 5 years will be returning or have already returned. We are not doing enough. And I think it is why it's also inspiring that we come here as a community to talk about the work that we do, to continue to inspire each other and educate each other on the work that we do. But it is a multifaceted, multi-pronged approach to shifting this colossal system that we have towards a healing-centered opportunity.
God bless you, Blair.
I love being part of this community. It is.
It shows.
Thanks, Terry.
I just wanted to say I absolutely don't want to be political, but in Texas there are for-profit prisons, and recidivism has a financial incentive for them, and that's a problem completely outside what we're talking about. But it is a system that thrives on recidivism. So when there was a budget cut while I was incarcerated, there was a budget cut, and they decided educational programs was where they could trim back on all the prisons. And so I absolutely agree with you, but I can't speak for Terry, but I am horrible at being a political activist. But I hope there are also people out there. I think Prison Mindfulness Institute is one of them that is trying to put pressure on that side of the equation to stop making the prison system in Texas a cash cow, because then what's the incentive for anyone involved in the system to do this transformative work to get you out into the world and make you productive when it's better for them if you're there. Anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent, but it is definitely an issue.
And thank you. And that was a piece that we hadn't spoken about. I know that did you spend all of your time at a for-profit prison, or was it only part of it?
I spent 2 years in a for-profit and 1 year in a regular state-run prison.
Oh, you froze, Mike.
Maybe he'll come back in a second.
Just talking about those public prisons made him freeze. Because they were horrible.
And I hope he's able to connect back on. I guess I have a couple opinions. I feel like Mike's spiritual work is political. I feel like that work is inherently political in a way, or it's radical. So that's what I would share with him. And also, like, speaking to his lived experience of being in a for-profit prison. It's just more speaking of truth and experience rather than political, right? Like, this is what it is. This is what my experience was. And so hopefully we'll be able to hear a little bit more. We'll give it one more minute and see if he comes back on. If Doe's ever in Austin, she's interested in coming to the Plum Blossom Sangha. How can people be in contact with you, Terry, or know about anything that you might be offering in person or digitally?
Well, you can go to plumblossoms.org, plumblossoms.org. And my teaching schedule is usually in there, like the retreats. The one coming up is in Omaha in May. So that would be a good way to get in touch. I think my email address might be there too, but my email is Terry Cortés-Vega without that hyphen, Terry Cortés-Vega @gmail.com.
I'm going to drop this into the chat. I also dropped the Plum Blossom Sangha piece. Oh, I hope we get to say goodbye to Mike and thank him. We are coming to the end of our time together, which makes me sad. Terry, was there anything that wasn't said today that you would like to speak to?
I guess I just want to say I feel like I'm part of by being with you all. I feel like I'm part of a good club, of another Sangha, a community that cares for themselves and cares for other folks. It just feels like you're my peep. and it feels supported and also guided. I feel supported and guided by your comments, by your questions, by your energy, it's whatever it is. Today's Friday. It's a Friday afternoon and you spend your time this way instead of some other ways you could spend your time. So I feel taken care of. I feel like with my people. Thank you.
I feel that too. Thank you, Terry. And Mike, I was so happy that you're able to pop back on. We'll send you the recording. I was just kind of responding to what you were saying, is that I think that you are political in that you are so dedicated to your Dharma practice. I think that is radical when we look at the way that a lot of people live and interact with others, that you have chosen to take great responsibility for your life. I think that's a radical action. And I would mark that as political. And so that's what I just wanted to share with you, that I said once you passed. But we've got the last couple of minutes here, and I just want to give you an opportunity to speak to anything that hasn't been said.
No, I think, I don't want to call it aftercare, but you sort of touched on, being available, as people exit the prisons, a support system. And I think, I can speak for our Sangha here in San Antonio. And Terry probably would say the same thing. I assume that we try and make ourselves available, and we're open to anyone, and we're very accepting. But I think I can speak for our Sangha in that we could probably do a better job of making our availability more known to the community. And I don't know if that's the actual inmates or the families of the inmates. There are a lot of barriers, like she said, transportation, especially people that come out on probation or parole. There's many strict things about when they can leave and when they can't. And I know from my experience when I was coming out, here's the two things I was met with is they handed me a piece of paper with local churches, about 5 local churches in San Antonio. And then the guard opened the gate and told us all, "We'll see you back soon." And that was my exit. So I think we could do better.
I think too.
Wow.
Thank you so much for taking the time, not only just when we were here together, but the pre-meetings and the email and the prep. Thank you for your devotion to this work, for relieving suffering for all beings. We are so grateful to have you here in this community, and to Mike, to uplift your voice and your experiences and the work that you do on the outside now. We are just so grateful. Thank you both for being here.